All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start this lesson by giving all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachakodash. All right, double honors, as always, to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who taught us all this truth and who also rule well. Shalom to Allah Achim in this truth and sincerity, starting with the 144,000 and the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, which we are fighting to be a part of. This is your brother Khabar Yakal coming back, Lord willing, with another quick and edifying lesson. And this lesson is entitled Delight in the Lord. Simply put, delight in the Lord, which the true name of the Lord is Yahweh, all right, the Most High God of Israel. His true name is Yahweh in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew. His son's name, his only begotten son, his beloved son, is Yahweh Shai in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew. And those are their true names. They don't have multiple names, all right? They only have one name, all right? So delight in the Lord. And speaking about his true names, that's step one to delighting in the Lord. All right. Matter of fact, let me look up that word delight. I'm gonna just get the simple definition. Go ahead and get this. All right. I'll go do this. All right. It says, please greatly. How do you please greatly the Most High God? It says delight. Replace delight with please greatly. Please greatly the Lord. All right. How do you do that? Acknowledging his name. All right. Matter of fact, because it says delight in the Lord. All right. It said please greatly. What is the Lord greatly pleased in? All right. I'm gonna start with this one. I don't got it in the notes, but I'm gonna get it through the Spirit. This is Proverbs 3 verse 5. It says, trust in the Lord, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, with all thine heart, which is your mind. All right. The Hebrew word for heart is lab. All right, I'm going to just get it for edification's sake. All right. With thy heart, with thy whole heart. All right. It's la and then ba. Put it together, lab. And it says inner man, mind, will, heart, understanding. Inner part, midst, soul, mind, knowledge, thinking, reflection, memory, inclination, resolution. All right, and the scripture speaks about incline thine heart unto the Lord. So we'll see what inclination means. Tendency, liking. So we should have a tendency to to delighting in the Lord. A tendency, of acknowledging Yahweh B'Shem Yahshai, thinking upon him with our whole heart, So it says a person's natural tendency or urge to act or feel in a particular way, a disposition. It's the elect of the nation of Israel's natural tendency to call on the names of Yahweh B'Shem Yahshai. And let me prove that real quick, because that's a heavy word. I didn't know it was going to say that. It's our natural tendency, Lord willing, we're of the elect, to call on the names of Yahweh B'Shem Yahshai. All right. That's not it. I think it's 10 and 17. Ecclesiastes. Hold up. What was it? 7:17? I thought it was 17:10. Yeah. Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 17 and 10. And the elect shall praise his holy name. All right. So the elect of the children of Israel, which are you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, you are the ancient Israelites. That's your true nationality. That's your true race. And also you Israelite foreigners who don't look like the typical Israelite, but your family line and your lineage, goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And through the Spirit, you can understand and receive this truth, because it's not about, I got to get a DNA test, I got to trace. It's not about that. If you can get this truth, even though you don't look like a typical Israelite, you are an Israelite if you can get it through the Spirit. And that means through the Spirit, without having to look it up, your lineage goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Because if you can get this truth, if you can get it, believe it sincerely, and sincerely call on the names of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, and you're led by the Spirit, you are an Israelite. You don't have to look up your lineage. All right, you're an Israelite, because only an Israelite, going back to this word, the natural inclination, this is a heavy word, a person's natural tendency or urge. It's an Israelite of the elect's natural tendency to call on the names of Yahweh Bashem Yahshai and to get into the truth, to come to serve the Lord. That's the Israelite's natural tendency. And when you understand reincarnation, the prophets are always going to come back on their lot, you know. So, ain't no heathen. If you the Spirit just got me saying this right now, not to go off topic, but even if you look like a heathen, if you come to serve the Lord, you're an Israelite. A heathen isn't going to know. An Israelite that's of the elect, that's a prophet, is always going to come back serving the Lord every single incarnation. All right. Minus, that falling away when we were in slavery, the 350 years, minus that. But still, the elect is always going to come back being a prophet. And even in those times, you had Nat Turner, you had different, people. Not to get too off topic, but let me read this again. Proverbs 3 and 6. 5, it says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, which is your mind, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. So how do you acknowledge the Lord? Yahweh Bashem Yahshai, his name. It starts with that. It also starts with the fear of the Lord. But for you to fear the Lord, you have to know his name. You're not going to fear, a Lord, you're not going to fear him on the level that you should without knowing his name. All right. But anyone who truly fears the Lord, the Lord is going to lead you to find his name. If you truly fear him, he's going to lead you on the right path. All right. That's why I said he shall direct that path. Just like he directed all of us into the truth, hey. All right. So I'm going to get Psalms 37, 4 through 6. This is Psalms chapter 37, verse 4. It says, delight thyself also in the Lord. So I gotta take this hoodie off. I'm hot. Bear with me 1 minute. Salakia. All right, Psalms 37 and 4. It says, delight thyself also in the Lord, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. So we have to delight ourselves in Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. We have to incline our heart unto him, with all our heart, with all our mind. All right, that's what the word heart means. I'm going to get the word delight. And it's anag, I believe, anag. Or anag, anag. And it says, I believe that's what that is, anag. It says to be soft, be delicate, be dainty. To be dainty, to be of dainty habit, be pampered. To be happy about, take exquisite delight. To make merry over, make sport of. That's why the apostles always say you got to have fun with this thing. Delight thyself in the Lord. And there's another scripture that says to serve the Lord with how's it go? There's one that says to serve the Lord with readiness of mind, but there's another one that says something of a cheerful countenance. I can't think of it though. It's something like serving the Lord with a cheerful countenance. That's delighting in the Lord. If you're in this truth, there should be moments. I'll say, I'm not saying you, but I'm throwing myself in there. Us in this truth, there should be moments where we genuinely smile, just meditating on the scriptures, meditating on the Lord, meditating on the brotherhood. There should be moments where we genuinely just smile, a genuine smile, a genuine, a merry spirit, a joyful spirit. All right. That's one of the fruits of the Spirit is joy. This truth isn't about, having a mean mug 24/7. You know, you're mean mugging every single body you look at. You know, you just walking down the street. You know, anytime you see, you know, these people of the world, you just mean mugging them. You know, no, this truth is about, you know, being joyful in the Lord. You know, being you know, taking delight in this truth. You know, having delight in this truth. Okay. So and that's balance too. You don't want to be grumpy all the time. You know, there's studies that show just smiling, which I should do a lesson on that because I mentioned it before. But there's studies that said if you just smile, even if you're not even genuinely smiling, you're just making yourself smile, it can relieve stress. You know, just smiling, just faking a smile can relieve stress. How much more a genuine, you know, smile, knowing what we have promised to us, everlasting life, a new extraterrestrial superhuman body that's never going to die. That's what we have promised to us in our lifetime. Not, in 100 years, our great-great-grandchildren. No, in our lifetime, we have promised everlasting life to us. This is the generation. It's not in 100 years, our great-grand. No, this is the generation where the Lord is going to come back. You know, very soon. It could be this year. You know, it's within months, like Elder Apostle Tahar says, you know, and Lord willing. You know, and Lord willing, we endure to the end. You know. But it says, delight thyself in the Lord, which means to take exquisite delight in, to be joyful, happy about, you know, to make sport of, but in righteousness, you know, not making sport like you're scoffing or like making light of it, but you're making sport of it in a righteous sense, which you could do that. You know, the apostles, they crack jokes, you know, they crack jokes and they get serious, then they crack jokes and they get serious. That's a part of the truth. That's part of taking delight in the truth. You know, you might think of moments where you were out, you know, fellowshipping with bros and you just laugh at, you know, you're thinking back at the memory of being with bros and you start chuckling and laughing like, man, I love that bro. Man, that's my brother, man. I love that brother. We should all have moments like that in the truth. If not, something is wrong. You know, in my humble opinion, something is wrong if you don't have moments like that. When you're thinking back to moments you had with bros and you genuinely start laughing, you genuinely start smiling, and you get in a good mood just remembering fellowshipping with bros. It could have been years ago. You might have just randomly remembered something, a time you fellowship with bros years ago. We should all have moments like that, in my humble opinion, you know, but it's not about me, in my opinion, though. Where continuing on, it says, commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. You know? Because pretty soon he's going to give us power and authority. He says, to you that overcometh, you know, I will give power over the nations. He's going to give us the authority to make judgments on the earth, to make moves on the earth, just like these wicked devils that are in power. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, the so-proclaimed white race, they're elites. Just like they make wicked ass, you know, moves on the earth. They literally affect the course of the whole planet with their legislation, with the different things that they do. They affect the course of the whole planet. What this scripture is saying is the Lord's going to give us that in righteousness. You know, I'm going to read it one time. He shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light and thy judgment as the noonday. You know? So he's going to give us that power. You know? We're going to run the earth in righteousness, and it's going to be a paradise once again. I'm going to get 1 Peter 5 and 6. You know? 5 and 6, it says, humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of the Most High, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, that he may exalt you in due time. So we have to humble ourselves, all right? If we exalt ourselves, you know, the Lord's going to bring us down, you know? But if we humble ourselves, how is the Lord going to bring us down? How is he going to cut us down if we're already down, if we're already humble, if we're already bowing down to him? No, he's going to do that to these people, you know? When the Lord returns, he's going to lift us up on high because we were already bowing down. But these people, he's going to make them bow down to us. I mean, slip of the tongue, Salaki, not us. He's going to make these people bow down to him. And we're going to bow too. The scripture says every knee shall bow. The elect is going to bow too. But the point I'm making is we're already in the state of bowing down to him right now by serving him. So when that time comes, we're going to bow down, but at the same time, he's going to lift us up. Lord willing, beam us up in the chariot, literally, lift us up. All right. It says, he's literally going to exalt us when he beams us up into the ship. We're going to go way up in the sky, man. You got to imagine it, that tractor beam from the chariot, which is a so-called UFO. That's how Yahweh Shai is coming back. That tractor beam is literally going to take us way up in the sky, man. We have to imagine that, speaking to myself first and foremost. That's the ultimate exaltation. And then on top of that, he's going to give us a superhuman new body that's never going to die, never going to get sick, tired, no headaches, no toothaches. Nothing is going to be wrong with that body. Young, forever young, like that song, And then not only, he's going to take it a step further. After he gives us that body, he's going to put an actual gold crown upon our heads, man. And that's a gold from a different dimension. And we're going to have that crown forever. And I remember a bro, I forget what camp he was from, but he had a dream that every member of the elect, when they got crowned, like their crown was unique to them. Like however they wanted their crown, without even asking the Lord knows us better than we know ourselves. So he's going to make that crown exactly to our liking, even more than we could imagine. Because he knows us better than we know ourselves. Casting all your care upon him, for he cared for you. And that's praying to him, praying to the Lord for all your problems. All right. He's the main one we should be telling all our problems to. Of course, the fellow bros too, the fellow brotherhood, But I'm gonna get Hebrews 11:6, and I just brought the scripture out in my last lesson too. But hey, there's nothing wrong with bringing a scripture out multiple times. These scriptures are righteous. There's nothing wrong with bringing out scriptures multiple times. If someone said, "Oh, that's wicked," he's bringing out the same scriptures. That guy is wicked. I could bring the same scripture out in every lesson. I'm not saying I'm going to, but the point I'm making is these scriptures are righteous. Hebrews 11:6. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to the Most High must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So part of delighting in the Lord is being diligent. All right. Meaning, I love to do this. I love this truth. I love the scriptures. I love going into the scriptures. I love teaching. I love, growing in this truth. I love my understanding growing through Yahweh Bashem Yahshai, That's diligently seeking him, and that's delighting in him. He's going to reward us for that. All right. And we have to believe in that reward. And in NLT, it is impossible to please the Most High without faith. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that the Most High exists. That's his name. His name is Yahweh. He is, or he exists. That's what his name is. And his son's name is Yahweh Shai, which means he saves or he delivers. Continuing on, and that he rewards those who sincerely seek him. All right? And it starts with that name. It starts with calling on his name. It starts with fearing him. And it starts with giving diligence, to make our calling and election sure. So Lord, when this lesson was edifying and comforting, once again, giving our praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem,